This is an NBC5 special report.
Good morning, I'm Rod Blagojevich with some big-time breaking news. The defense in the Rod Blagojevich case has rested. There will be no testimony from former Governor Rod Blagojevich. Phil Rogers is in court, tells us prosecutors have started a rebuttal case, but that is likely against co-defendant Robert Blagojevich. See some video of Rod Blagojevich leaving his home and also heading into the courthouse today. He went inside, talked a little bit to Carol Maureen, told her, quote, "Don't believe everything you hear on the tapes," as she entered court. I've got legal analyst Thomas Glasgow on the phone. Thomas, are you there? We'll try to get Thomas to talk a little bit about the ramifications of what this means. As you read some of the things developing online, and Thomas, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Thomas, well, first, just your reaction on this huge announcement that Rod Blagojevich will not testify.
I have to say that I was a bit surprised, especially considering the fact that defense counsel during the initial part of the opening statements promised the jury that not only would they hear from Governor Blagojevich or former Governor Blagojevich, but his wife and others involved. They promised the jury that they would go ahead and put on a case.
So, Thomas, do you think that they may, though, now say, well, our case was so strong, we didn't need to call any witnesses? Is that the card they're going to play here at the table now?
They may play that, but juries, with opening statements, they take you at face value. That is where you build your trust level. That is where you present your case to the jury and begin that connection with the jurors. And unfortunately, when you don't follow through with evidence, as either a prosecutor or a defense counsel, then juries' confidence in you and your case is undermined.
Legal analyst Thomas Glasgow joining us on the phone right now. So how will this play out for Rod Blagojevich? Because the defense has rested its case, can he come down, address the media, and say, frankly, whatever he wants?
That was the subject of some of Judge Zagel's rulings previously.
Right.
I don't think that ethically it's going to be something that he's going to be able to do, nor do I think that he's going to be allowed to, in other words, try his case to the media and not be allowed to be cross-examined like he did when he went through the impeachment trials, when he just showed up at the very end and gave his long speech as to why he shouldn't have been impeached, not subjecting himself to cross-examination there. I think this is probably the same tactic that he's attempting to use. However, I really think it hurts his case because the jurors may or may not be able to hear that, number one. And number two, when you don't put on any evidence, you have to essentially then try the state case or weigh the government's case to determine whether the government's case has enough weight to pass that beyond a reasonable doubt standards. There has been a mountain of evidence and miles of tape that have been played in this matter that, quite frankly, are very damning to Blagojevich, and there's going to be no explanation as to why those things occurred other than, hey, you can't hold the fact that he didn't testify against him in the court.
If you're just joining us, Rod Blagojevich's defense has rested its case, and the former governor will not testify. Some media outlets, Thomas, are reporting this is a father and son dissension. Sam Adams Jr. telling the jury, as you mentioned in opening statements, he will indeed take the stand. His father, according to the Chicago Tribune, saying that he shouldn't. Have you, in all of your experience, heard something like this dissension amongst a team like that has such huge ramifications?
Yeah, it's the old adage of too many chefs spoil the broth. You've got several talented attorneys who are representing him. One has a very strong opinion, another has a very strong opinion, and Blagojevich is willing to and is able to take the advice of either one of these people or any of the attorneys that represent him. He is taking the position that Sam Adams Sr. is taking, that he shouldn't testify, while Sam Adams Jr. is saying he should testify.
Thomas, we have.
I don't know.
Let me interrupt you real quick. We have Phil Rogers and Carol Maureen both in the court. I want to read you a note from Carol Maureen. The government played some phone calls, then rested. The jury is gone, and the lawyers are now going before the judge right now. So that means likely Rod Blagojevich will come down to the lobby and again talk to the media as he said he would. The next court date, we're also being told 9:30 Monday. The Sun-Times had reported they would wait, lawyers that is, for closing arguments until Monday morning. So now we can confirm that within the courthouse they're saying Monday at 9:30 closing arguments will begin. Thomas, let me go back to you. A few days now to think about how they will approach this Monday. What do you anticipate as closing arguments come relatively quickly in this trial?
they've come, the entire case has proceeded in a much more swift fashion than I think anybody anticipated, partly because of the tailoring of the government's case in not calling certain witnesses, and partly because of the defense choice not to put on any evidence at all, which is not unusual in a federal case. However, this situation, when they go before the jury, I think what the defense counsel is going to be arguing is the weight of the state's case. Now, that has certain advantages in that you get to weigh the state's credibility without having it placed against your defendant and having your defendant put on the stand. Putting your defendant on the stand has inherent dangers as well as the big payoff. If the jury truly likes him, they may sympathize with him and let him go. If they don't like him, they can convict him just based on the fact that they don't like him, they don't trust him, ergo, he's guilty.
Legal analyst Thomas Glasgow joining us on the phone. Developing news, Rod Blagojevich not testifying at his trial. Go one step further. The defense has rested its case. Take me into the huddle with the prosecution. What is this a victory for them, do you think, Thomas? Is this a high-five move, or do they feel like perhaps they surely had a few trump cards to play if Rod Blagojevich took the stand?
Well, as a prosecutor, you want to have that ability, and you prepare extensively to cross-examine the defendant. The defendant obviously has a choice and does not have to let you know, so you prepare and you prepare and you prepare, and then when the defendant doesn't testify, it's a bit of a letdown, especially when you have powerful cross-examination evidence as they did in this case. Now, it works both ways because now they can argue that, you didn't hear any contradictory evidence towards what was brought forth in this case, what was presented by the government. This is evidence that it stands alone. There's been nothing to say that this did not happen, and therefore since there's nothing against it and nothing to contradict what they have put forth, it creates a danger for the defense in not being able to have the jury weigh any other story or any other set of facts that may get the defendant that not guilty finding.
This is Rod Blagojevich leaving his home this morning as he headed to the Dirksen Federal Courthouse, and then did briefly say some things to reporters, went upstairs, told Carol Maureen, quote, "Don't believe everything you hear on the tapes," and then went into court. And we're told by Phil Rogers that the government did play a few phone calls, rested, the jury gone, lawyers are before the judge right now. What happens in this case, it's been unique, somewhat like the Burge case. They would keep reporters, family members within the courtroom until the jury left. So now that they have moved on, Rod Blagojevich likely going to come down and address the media. Stay with me because we're going to take that live as soon as he does. Thomas, talk to me.